Hello there, Dr. Bill Crawford here, psychologist, speaker, author of 8 books, host of 2 PBS specials. Here again to bring you another tip on how to help you create the life you want. Specifically, how to use my life from the top of the mind philosophy to bring more clarity, confidence, creativity into everything you do. Today I want to talk about dealing with difficult people, but specifically in a way that speaks to how they trigger us and what we can do about it. There's a quote that I'm sending out to those 6,000 folks on my quote list. By the way, if you would like to receive one of my favorite quotes each week, along with 2 or 3 paragraphs about how to apply that quote to life, all you got to do is go to my website, Bill Crawford, Ph.D., hit the subscribe button, put your name and email address in there, it's free. And each week I'll send you one of my favorite quotes along with 2 or 3 paragraphs about how to apply it to life, along with a link to the video. So this quote is one of mine. It says, if we truly want to become more influential in our experience of life, we need to become more selective with respect to whom we allow in our head. Again, this has to do with difficult people, and this comes up a lot in my seminars. People will tell me, oh man, these people really drive me crazy, these drivers drive me nuts, these clerks don't give me the service I want, it really frustrates me, makes me angry, and that's all very understandable. Matter of fact, the neuroscience behind that kind of explains it. Since we were born, we've been reacting to people, and when that reaction was negative, this middle brain, whose mission on the planet is to keep us alive as a species, had a tendency to respond to it in this very negative way. Because when we were young and people were upset with us, that was almost always a dangerous situation, at least in our mind. And if this happened a lot, then we got triggered a lot, and that sets us up, unfortunately, to deal with difficult people in this very reactive way. The challenge, however, I think, is to just look at it from a neuroscience perspective. Again, for those of you who follow my life from the top of the mind philosophy, you know that that's how I like to look at life and becoming more influential in our experience of life. If indeed this middle brain is interpreting difficult people as dangerous when they're really not, then what we want to do is influence that interpretation. In order to do that, we've got to be aware of what's happening and why it's happening. So if we can get really clear that the reason we respond to certain types of difficult people is because this middle brain is interpreting them as dangerous, then that can be very helpful, because then we can decide, okay, are they truly dangerous? You know, if we're talking about some driver who isn't driving the way we want them to be, or some clerk that doesn't give us the service we want, that's really not dangerous. We've experienced it as annoying and frustrating, but not really dangerous. There's another question I love that gives us, I think, some clarity with respect to how we interpret something, and that is, okay, I notice I'm feeling angry, frustrated, resentful, annoyed. Would I truly recommend that reaction to someone I love? You know, hey, here's a good way to react to drivers on the freeway. Just yell at them and get them. And then have you noticed, we don't just yell at them, we think about them over and over and over. We carry them around with us in our head. Unfortunately, that has a tendency to trigger adrenaline, noradrenaline, cortisol, messes with our blood pressure, our heart rate, our immune system, really kind of messes with our health. In other words, at that moment, we have just made this person the most important person in our life, because we're letting them live in our head. We're letting them trigger chemical reactions in our body that not only don't serve us, but reactions, frankly, that we wouldn't recommend to someone we love. So I suggest we begin to recognize that sometimes we can't always control our first thought, but we can certainly influence the thoughts that come after that. So how could we maybe choose to influence these thoughts? Well, we could ask ourselves a question on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is this person in my life? If the answer is 0 or not at all, we could say, okay, then how do I normally deal with someone who isn't important? I don't give them a second thought. I don't run them over and over in my head, or go talk to somebody about them, or tell them a story about them, or kind of carry them around with me for the rest of the day or the rest of the week or rest of my life. So what I suggest we do is become more purposeful with respect to that first thought. Is it a thought we want to feed? Is it a thought we want to change? Would we recommend this thought and this reaction to someone we love? If so, terrific. If it's a dangerous situation and we need to either fight this situation or flee from it in order to be safe, hey, that makes perfect sense. That's what the middle brain's for. But if we find ourselves reacting with anger, frustration, resentment in a way that makes this person way more important than we want them to be, let's influence that next thought. So if indeed they're not important, the question again then, how do we deal with someone who isn't important? We don't give them a second thought. So we want to actively shift our thinking to something else, someone else, something that is more meaningful, something that we would recommend to someone we love. It's just not thinking about them, not thinking about them, not thinking about them. It's not that. It's about, okay, if I don't really want them to be in my head, what do I want to be in my head? So we put something in there that is meaningful, that allows us to create our experience of life in a meaningful way. There's a quote that I've used in the past about someone jerking your chain. How do you keep people from jerking your chain? Don't give your chain to jerks. Let's not let someone who isn't important to us live in our head. I've heard that, live in our head rent-free. That's another way of looking at that. If we truly want to be influential in our life and in the lives of others, let's make sure we're coming from that influential, purposeful, aware brain and make purposeful, influential choices that we would recommend to someone we love. Frankly, life is just too short and too precious to give our attention to those who don't deserve it. Hope this is valuable. Hope you're enjoying the videos. I'm having a great time bringing them to you. If you do, please hit the like button. Share them with your friends. You can get my podcast on iTunes and pretty much anywhere you get a podcast. This is the audio version of this. I love for folks to be able to take it, use it, share it with their friends. That means a lot to me. So if this is working for you, feel free to do that. In the meantime, here's to you, bringing more clarity, confidence, creativity to everything you do. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.